Alright, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is SpookieSTL, and I'm going to be showing you basically my dual LMG build. Is not completely optimized, but it's pretty much there, so we're going to get right into it. Gear score, I'm at 490 right now, but the most basic thing, like I said, this is kind of like a version of Wid's builds a little bit. However, I was already on the grind to get this gear before he put that video up, and it revolves around pulse and skill power. What you're gonna need is you're only gonna need 3 reds, which is really hard to do, 11 defense, which are your blues, but you must need 7 yellows, which is your electronics. So we're gonna get right into the guns here. What you guys are gonna need is, I use a military MK46. You guys can use the M60. I'm not a fan of it. I haven't really got it. I don't like slow fire rate. But what you're gonna need on any LMG you have, I happen to get a basic god roll on it. So I got unhinged on my LMG and then Allegro. You definitely need both of those for the damage of the 25% weapon damage. Stability and handling, we'll worry about that later, don't worry, but you definitely need that 10% rate of fire to give you up to 633 rounds per minute. I also have recharge on my 3rd slot. You guys can go recharge or something else, like the one that gives you defense while you're reloading. However, recharge is really good for your skill power, especially if you're using pulse. While clip, skills deployed at full armor have 25% duration, charges, and ammo, depending how you guys want to play. So I'll show you my modifications on the LMG right now. We're rocking basically a pro red dot for stability. I'll explain stability in a second. Then we're also using a nimble link belt for that 5% rate of fire. You could have reload speed if you're running the chatterbox. I'll explain that a little bit later too. And then angle grip for stability as well. And then I also have the Omega 5.56 rifle suppressor for 20% stability. Optimum range, we don't really need that. The reason why I'm running stability on this LMG is for the sole purpose that when you're hip firing, when you're up close and stuff, you're not going to be going for crit chance. I mean, look at the crit chance. You need to be 10 within 10 to 50 meters to get a critical hit. Most of your fights on conflict, unless you're in the dark zone and stuff, are going to be happening between 7 to like 3 meters up close. So you want that stability. I'll explain more in a second. The second weapon that I'm running is a military RPK 74M. This weapon is amazing for the sole purpose that I run 2 LMGs so that I don't have to reload either one of my LMGs, and I'll explain why and how I get my infinite ammo sometimes. So this one I have at 18.2k damage, but on this I have unhinged just for extra damage. Don't worry about the stability or the weapon handling. I also have stable. I wish I had something else on there. I wish I had Allegro, but I don't. But overlap is what you definitely want to get on your second LMG. If you're going to be running 2 LMGs with this build, guys, you want overlap. For the reason being, while holster, your equipped weapon gains a handling bonus based on this weapon's type. I don't know how much the weapon handling bonus is, but it definitely helps out if you're using an M60 or MK46 in your first slot, if you guys aren't going to be running a chatterbox or a Sweet Dreams. Now, for second weapons, you could be running a Sweet Dreams just because they have a 3rd perk on that weapon where if you roll, you get, I think, 20% of your ammo back, which is incredible. I don't have a Sweet Dreams yet. I want it. Or if you want to go more fun or offensive, you could have the chatterbox. And if you have the chatterbox, all you have to do is get it. I just don't have a 2 or 500 chatterbox yet. I'm waiting to get that. You get the blabbermouth talent while holster reloading your weapon 5 seconds after kill. It grants 20% rate of fire, which is amazing. Half if you want that. However, I don't want to put that on sometimes, so I just go with this overlap for the extra handling bonus. That's just because I'm running 2 LMGs, and I'll switch back and forth. Both those weapons are really good. The RPK is great for getting through armor and demolishing it and killing people very quickly. It works on SMG builds. The 3rd weapon I have is just a deagle. I like the extra damage on it, and what you guys definitely want to have, you could have, like, I don't know if you get grease on your sidearm, but what I have is stop, drop, and roll. So whenever somebody's throwing an incendiary, which they use in the dark zone a lot, or you know, something blind or whatever, you just basically switch to your 3rd weapon and you roll and it gets rid of it. Same thing with bleed. I have a feeling that bleed builds are going to be a thing in the future. So hello to Predator again. What you definitely want on your mask, I'm running a Gilligard just for a 3-piece Gilligard. I'll explain this right now. I'm running 3-piece Gilligard, and then I'm running, I think, 2-piece Apps Summit Armament. I'll explain that. So your mask, you definitely want to have health and health on kill, but the primary thing you want to have is spotter, which is pretty hard to get unless you guys already have it. Trying to apply that is very hard. So which gives you 10% weapon damage to pulse enemies, which is incredible. When you put your pulse up, you're going to be putting your pulse up in the beginning of the fight. I'll explain why in a bit. You already have 10% damage that you could do to pulse enemies, and that should last you about like 13 seconds, somewhere around there. But I have 2 blues on mine, and then I also have a utility protocol mod, which is skill power, increased blind duration and bleed damage. I wish I had a better skill thing. I kind of could swap that out, but you definitely want to have spotter, 10% weapon damage increase. Then we'll go to the chest piece, which you guys definitely need to have if you guys are going to run the Gilligard or any other chest piece like I'm running, which is 3-piece. You want Unstoppable Force. Grants 2% weapon damage for every 10,000 max armor. Incredible. As you guys can see right now, I'm rocking like 2,100,000 armor, which is great. I have 2 blues on this, and then I did a little bit of weapon damage. With just 2 pieces of Gilligard, you get total armor and then hazard protection, so anything that's like fire and that stuff will deplete how much damage it does to you. This is just an incredible chest piece. A lot of people run this. It's not as great as Berserk, but for LMGs you definitely want to have that, so you want to max out on armor as much as you can. I have a defense protocol resistance, which is health. Don't worry about this stuff unless you really want to read into it. Utility, more skill power, chem launch skill power, so that helps me out when I'm dropping my chem launchers. And then I have another bonus armor on kill, and total armor. You guys definitely want to get a mod that has at least armor on kill and total armor, because you gotta regen that as fast as possible. On my holster, I'm just using a Petrov defense. You guys can swap that out for whatever you want. I just use it for extra 10% LMG damage. And then also on that, I have 2 yellows, which is cooldown reduction, and then skill power, which is 263, and then health on kill, which definitely helps me out in my fights. I wish I had something else. I wish I had maybe filler up, but I can't really put that on this. It's up to you guys how you want to have it. If you get a P-Drop with filler up, that's awesome for you guys, and a roll like this. Then we're moving on to the backpack. Backpack is also vital. All these talents that you have on your armor sets, most of them except the holster one that I have, which isn't optimized quite yet. That's the one thing holding me back. The biggest thing you want to have is on the ropes. And on the ropes, it's very hard. You need to get 7 electronics and level that. But yeah, so you guys need to have 7 electronics to make that talent work on the ropes, which is incredible. You get weapon damage 25% while all skills are on cooldown. So think about that for a second. I haven't even got to the gloves yet. You're already getting 10% from pulse enemies. As soon as that runs out, let's say you drop a chem launcher on the ground. With the chem launcher, you're always going to get cooldowns. Always run that. It's the easiest way to proc this perk. Then on top of that, you're getting 25% weapon damage on cooldown after. Stack that along. Let's say if you kill somebody within that pulse time frame, you're already going to stack that 2% armor or damage that you have for how much armor you have. So you're going to be doing a lot of damage in a short amount of time. This build is centered all around proccing all your talents. The mods I have on it is utility protocol mod, which is 54% or plus on skill power. Don't worry too much about increased disruption or burn damage. However, burn damage works for everybody who's using fire grenades. Then I also have a generic system mod, which is drone skill power, but I'm using it more so for the total armor. I wish I didn't have capacitive. I wish I had a healing kind of talent here, but that's for a later date. So like I said, I used the apps summon armament just for that 2-piece perk, which the first one gives you 10% cooldown reduction, which helps with resetting basically all your stats so that you can get back into that zone of getting your weapon damage stacked again. Then for the 2-piece, I get the skill power. So that's enough. Now, the hands, super important. What you guys need is compensated. Now, this is most important and also very hard to get. It took me a while, but I actually just got this other one that I was able to put on these gloves with my Apps Summit Armament, which is compensated. Compensated gives you weapon damage is increased by 15% when your critical hit chance is below 20%. If we go over to my stats real quick, on an LMG, guys, you're never going to be able to hit critical hit damage unless you're far enough away of 10 meters, 10 to 15 meters, you're going to get that critical hit. I have 0 critical hit chance. We don't need critical hit chance. Critical hit damage, I guess you guys can use it, but I don't need critical hit chance with this build at all. You're never going to need it. So like I said, you guys come back down. Attributes, I have 355 plus skill power, which I had something else. However, this just makes the build work. When you're having 3 reds, and then like however blues you want, some people run this with 7 blues. I like more armor, so I went 11 blues and then 7 electronics. However, you do need 3 reds and then 7 electronics to make this build work, just for the strictly talking about the talents. Then I also have a offensive protocol mod, which is 1% weapon damage, helps out, 3% headshot damage, and then also 3% optimal range. What works with this protocol mod is basically that headshot damage. If you guys could stack headshot damage, if you guys want to run marksman, I know Wids does and some other people run it with their LMG builds. I like demolitionist. I'll get to it in a second as to why, but you guys definitely want to compensate it. So you guys get an idea. You get 10% with your pulse. After 10% damage is done with your pulse, let's say you kill somebody, then you get 2% for every 10,000 armor you have. Look at my armor, do the math. You're going to be getting a lot of damage. And then on top of it, when your skills are on cooldown, you get that buff with the unbreakable. Then you get the on the ropes buff, which all your skills are on cooldown, which is another 25% damage. Plus you're already getting 15% damage of compensated when your critical hit chance is below 20%. You could have critical hit chance, but then on top of it, you're also getting that 25% from your LMG damage from unhinged. A lot of damage with just a skill and defense build. You guys can see where this is going. So, and then also too, I'm running App Summit for the gloves too, just for that skill power, that second trait, which is 5% skill power, which is going to help with the pulse damage as well. On knee pads, you guys could be running whatever you guys. I just like 3-piece Gilligard because it gives me that 5% armor or total armor, 20% hazard protection, which definitely works when people are using fire grenades in the DZ and in conflict. And then you also have 15% skill power, or I'm sorry, pulse skill power, which is going to be more damage while you're doing your pulse, basically your perk, I guess you can say. But I use the Gilligard just for that extra 7,000 bonus armor. You guys can have whatever talent you want. What I find is one of the best for me is patience. There is definitely another talent you guys could get that I know is better. I have it in my stash somewhere, but I like to use patience because after I kill somebody, I'll take some time, take a breather, unless you really want to go for like a team kill. Sometimes I do it, but you get, after being in cover for 3 seconds, armor repairs 5% every 1 second. It's amazing, especially if you have health and armor regeneration perks in your mod slots. So you only need 7 blues for that. I have 11. That procs that. So on the mods, I have a defense protocol mod, which is 3,654 health, 1,572 armor on kill, and then 524 armor regeneration, which definitely works really good with patience because you're getting your armor right back right away, unless you guys want to use a medikit, or if you want to drop a chem launcher or heal, that's up to you guys. I have a defense system mod. I wish I had something else than the marksman rifle and increased shock duration. I definitely do have something else in the generic. The thing I will say this, when you start putting mods, you guys got to be careful because sometimes they'll fluctuate how many reds you have, how many blues you have, and how many yellows you have. You could have a lot of yellows. I think you have to only have 7 though. I think I have to check for on the ropes, but you don't want to have more than 3 reds. That's the only way this build is going to work. So we talked about pretty much all of these right here. We're going to go into what we're using. So the pulse, you definitely want to have pulse because that's going to give you that 10% damage. That's just how I run it, and it helps out in conflict, letting your people know. There's been multiple times where people are behind me, I use pulse, I see them. and plus you get 10% damage. You want to use the regular pulse mods, doesn't really matter. I have 1.2% charge speed in the first slot. Second slot I have 2.4 charge speed, so it's up to you guys how you want to go about it. Depending on your skill power, you won't have a lot of options. My second ability that I'm using is Chem Launcher. You want to use the Reinforcer. That's going to give you the heals that you need in the middle of your fights. I believe you get about 4 of them. I get 4 because I have ammo. Try to get another one, another ammo, which is a feed strip, and you guys have 4. What you want to do in the middle of your fight, sometimes I've seen people do it, I've been doing it, you drop 2 of those chem launchers on the ground and you're constantly healing yourself in the middle of the fight. So you're healing with regeneration when somebody's trying to break your armor down. It's a pain in the ass, but it works, especially if you have health regeneration mods that are amazing. I wish I had 5+5 ammo for the skill power requirement, but I don't have 2000, and I don't think I will have 2000 until skill power or skill builds are viable in this game. So that's pretty much it for your skills here. You guys can use whatever grenade you want. If you're running that perk, I think it's destructive, which gives you a bonus like 20% grenade damage. Up to you guys. You should definitely use the regular. I like to use the one that gives me bleed because I'll throw that out and then I'll rush somebody, they're already bleeding, it fucks with their play style, and then they have to heal up because they're going to be losing health. I've already talked about my weapons, all that. Let's go over to stats real quick. So as you guys can see, pretty much everything is proccing. Blues, reds, blues. So you only need 5 yellows for the spotter, but you can only have 7. No, you need 7, but you can only have 3 for the compensated. So like I said, the build is very optimized compared to my last one. Then you have all your weapon stats. So we have 27,000 weapon damage. I also have another build that has more DPS, but this one gives me more armor. You definitely want to go more armor. You don't want to be so squishy with this build because you are going to put in a lot of DPS and you want to go down as quickly. So as you can see, no critical hit chance, critical damage, we don't need to worry about that. Headshot damage is definitely a must with this build. You guys definitely want to get the headshots. You're going to be doing an insane amount of damage when all your stacks are procced on top of each other. And if you guys really want to go that extra mile, some people run this build with marksman just for that extra weapon handling, I believe, and then reload speed, all that other stuff. I'm not too fancy on that. I'd rather have my 15% weapon damage from Demolitionist. Accuracy and stability, as you guys can see, is still pretty good because of those weapon mods. Plus we also have overlap. Like I said, you guys definitely want to have that on your third slot of your second weapon if you're running 2 LMGs, up to you guys. Then we also have, let's see, 25% LMG damage bonus. You could have more, but that's fine with me. Armor, 219,000 armor. Max health, 60,000, which isn't a whole lot, but it's definitely better than some builds that only have 40,000. 6,000 health on kill, 30,000 health regeneration, and then your skill power, obviously you have a lot going on, especially so pulse, skill power, that all works, that all stacks on your damage depending how you guys want to switch that up. So that's pretty much for the talents and the abilities there. I'm going to show you how everything kind of works and procs together. So as you guys can see, these are on easy, these targets, you get about 34,000, right? So then you proc your pulse, then you're getting that extra 10%. We're starting to do 37,000 damage, which is burning through enemies. So like I said, this build definitely works in PvE and PvP, depending how you guys want to go about it. You want to go the extra mile, drop a chem launcher on the ground, and it's going to give you on the ropes. You guys can see your talents in the bottom of your HUD. We're getting 39,000 damage. Now, it's not going to allow me to use Unstoppable Force in here, but if you throw that on top of there in PvE, you'll definitely see the numbers. PvP with normalized settings, obviously, is going to be a little different. I'll show you that too with my stats, but you guys can definitely see you're going to be doing a lot of damage just with on the ropes. Well, let's switch the other weapon. And burning through enemies. My main primary weapon, I use the MK46. Rarely do I reload because, like I said, there's a demolition perk or a demolitions perk that I will show you in a second how I get my infinite ammo. So that's pretty much it, showing you the showcase. You guys can watch the video over again and see how it actually performs in PvP. Not a lot of people know about Demolitionist, but also too, you could go sharpshooter for the main fact. I don't use it too much, but you get, look at that, 5%. I think you get like an insane amount of headshot damage, and then weapon handling, reload speed, you get a lot of good perks, but I run Demolitionist for the sole purpose of getting 15% increased light machine gun damage, which is amazing. I'm also going to go over here, 25% increased explosive damage, you know, fragmentation to bleed, increased resistance from incombustible, from you know, if somebody's throwing fire grenades at you, you're gonna be fine. But this perk is definitely really fun to have. X-Stat Armor Kit Supplementary. Armor Kit repairs 70% damage and boost weapon handling. Weapon handling by 100% for 15 seconds on completion occurs. 30% repair occurs. That 30% repair occurs is incredible in the middle of fights. People aren't going to be expecting it, but that weapon handling of 100% will get you that laser accuracy that you need to the point where you could be hip firing. That's why I run a lot of stability mods on my weapon, my main weapon, which is the MK46, just because I'll be hip firing and it's super laser accurate most of the time. We go down even further for Demolition Tactical Link. Group members gain 5% damage to targets out of cover, which is amazing. Ignore explosions can only occur and trigger once every 60 seconds. I haven't seen this a whole lot work or proc, but I'm pretty sure it does work in PvP. This is one of my favorite talents. This is how I get kind of my infinite like ammo, no reload. When I'm done with my MK46, you should have the point, if you're not killing at least 3 to 2 people within one magazine, your build is wrong. Somewhere is off. You should have all your talents together and you should be able to kill people really great, especially with Unstoppable Force being in there along with On the Ropes. At times, like I said in the beginning of fights, when you don't have On the Ropes already on, but even still then with that 10% skill power or 10% damage from pulse, you should be able to kill somebody. In the weird fact that you guys can't kill somebody, switch over to your second LMG. Like I use the RPK, which I use more so for the RPMs. It has Unhinge on it. It's not bad. Plus it has that stability mod on it, so I can't even complain with it, and it does burn through enemies. Now let's say I switch over to my other weapon. My first weapon is out of ammo. They get me down below health, and then I'm out of ammo for that secondary weapon. Alright, get this, when my armor is already reduced to 0, then I can switch back to my LMG, and like it's magic. Like that is fully reload. I love it. That's definitely a perk that I enjoy about Demolitions while I run. Obviously Vital Protection for those SMG users, but that's pretty much on every build. So that's pretty much the build in a sum, guys. Like I said, what you definitely want to have is you definitely want to have those perks. You want to have Unstoppable Force. You want to have Spotter, and you definitely want to have, I'm pretty sure I said On the Ropes already. Capacitive you don't really need, but you also need Compensated. That's very hard to get and it's very hard to use within your build. And Patience, if you guys like more armor that regens over time, you guys can switch this out for whatever you want. Like I said, you don't need to use 2 LMGs. You could use the Lullaby or the Sweet Dreams, whichever one it is, and basically it gives you free ammo whenever you reload, which is amazing if you're running at a M60, which is slower fire rate. I just like my MK46 for faster fire rate. You could also switch that out, like I said, for the Chatterbox, for that third perk that gives you, I think, 20% RPMs for about 5 seconds, somewhere around there. You could also switch that out for that. And whatever holster, like I said, like I wish I had a better holster, but you definitely want to have LMG damage, at least one Petrov defense group, or Petrov piece in there. Excuse me, sir, ran through my screen, just to give you that extra damage. It's up to you guys. You guys can optimize this build however you want. Let me know how I can fix this build up. I feel like it's definitely an amazing build. It works for me, for my play style. It's one of the more optimized builds. You guys definitely should try it out. Like I said, I was already building this build before people started using it, so it kind of sucks that I'm showing it out so late, but I want to show with 2 LMGs it works. It's incredible, especially with overlap. You definitely want to have that on your secondary weapon. Get as much armor as you can. With this build being, if it's squishy, I'm telling you, it doesn't work. I've tried a squishy build with more DPS, doesn't work. Rely on your talents. I promise you, you will do good. So, like I said, no more than 3 reds. You definitely want to have 7 electronics, and go hand with the defense if you want. You don't need so many electronics, but more defense the better. So I'm running 3-11-7. Some people run 3-7-7, but that's up to you guys how you want to build it. My name is SpookieSTL, guys. If I don't see you in Conflict, if I don't see you in the Dark Zone, I'll definitely see you somewhere. I'm excited for the raid that's coming out. I'll definitely be doing a video. If you guys want to join my clan on PC, let me know. I'll definitely shoot you guys an invite. I have a couple people there. We do a lot of different things over there. I'll be posting more build videos in the future, And I hope you guys enjoy this build and use it yourselves. Let me know how it is. And at the end of the day, guys, never forget to share the love. See ya.